Ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube universe, what is going on with you on this Sunday? It is Sunday, December 3rd, 2023, roughly 6:45 p.m. California time. I am, of course, your always gracious host, Fallon from GoNootropics.com. Coming at you with the chamomile chairs on this Sunday evening. Hope you all are doing good. Happy holidays from the Enterprise to you. Bringing a little bit of the festive spirit with the hat. Bringing back the classic sunglasses. Thank you for cruising through. Today we're talking about the Repo Man, baby. The Repo Man. Some of you may remember my original video about how the Repo Man cometh. Right, we're out, me and Christine, we got the bikes, and I don't know if you guys know about the infestation of these Dodge Chargers. Right, we live in this apartment complex, and seemingly everybody has these Dodge Chargers. This is like, you know what a Dodge Charger is? Seems to be the premier muscle car that young men, in particular young men, want to drive. This is the hot car. This is the car everybody wants. This is the car the young men want. And so we're constantly being nearly ran over by these brand new Dodge Chargers. And Christine asked one day, how do they afford that car? Because you look inside the car and it's like, some young guy, early 20s, mid 20s, driving these Dodge Chargers. And well, they don't afford the car, right? They finance the car and they take on the $700, $800 a month car payment each month, and $700, $800 that you gotta pay every month. Right, every month you gotta pay $700, $800 to own this Dodge Charger. Now, I believe this car MSRPs for maybe like 35 grand. I think a couple years back, or 2021, there was a shortage of these Dodge Chargers, so everybody paid $20,000 over the MSRP for these cars not too long ago. $50,000 for a car. They're financing the car, taking on the $700, $800 payment to pay for this car. Well, what are we beginning to see now, baby? The other day I walked out on a glorious afternoon. The sun is shining, and what do my eyes behold but the Repo Man? And what's he backing into, baby? What's that Repo Man backing into? None other than one of these Dodge Chargers. And I'm thinking to myself, finally, they're going to get all these cars off the street. We can bike safely now, right? The Repo Man cometh, Not many people can afford these $700, $800 cars. So what happens? The Repo Man comes, he takes the car away, right? So we are beginning to see, and you might notice it too in your area, the Repo Man coming for these Dodge Chargers. I'm telling you, I don't know about where you live, but here it's a I would classify it as an absolute infestation of these Dodge Chargers, who the Repo Man is now coming for, right? People think of job security. Well, good time to be a Repo Man right now. Hook up the Charger, get paid, right? You're going to be working all day, baby. There's not enough cars out there. Plenty of cars for you to go hook up. So, the Repo Man, so we're thinking about the metaphorical Repo Man, right? This is the Repo Man that comes and takes something from you, right? Not a physical thing, but he takes, we talk about the kratom taking. We talk about some of these things coming to repossess the things you once owned. You take Kratom for a long time, Repo Man comes for your energy, your motivation, right? You're on that Kratom. You've been taking it 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. The Repo Man comes, doesn't he? He come and takes from you, takes those positive feelings. He comes into your life and he repossesses what is his. And I think the Repo Man comes for all of us. You know, we could numb ourselves out, right? I think there's like a few milestone experiences for people, in particular men, that men go through. You know, I think the first important milestone is like, as a man, getting like your first big win, right? Don't you feel that's the case? Like you got to know what it's like to get your first big win, your first big accolade, your first big promotion, your first big win, where you're looking around and you're like, yes, baby, I've made it. This is what winning is. I think it's important to, at least at one point, make a decent amount of money, go down that path, right? Go down the path of kind of getting these material things. Because like Jim Carrey says in that famous interview, everybody should get rich so they realize that it's not the answer, right? Everybody should get rich so they know it's not the solution. Because I think if you don't go through that experience, you're always kind of going to be hunting for the big win in hopes that brings you what you're looking for, And it's like deep down, we know the money, it's not going to bring the true happiness. We know these things are not going to bring the true fulfillment. But isn't it hard to kind of like break out of that spell? And, it's constantly like we're hungry ghosts, constantly looking for a home, just these ghosts searching and seeking. It's like intuitively, don't you know that this is not the solution? Don't we all know this? But here we are searching, seeking to become above the folds, a cut above the rest, right? We spend our whole lives searching. And I think, the earlier you can get that out of your system to see, right? You ever had like a moment of clarity where you spend a long time, maybe years, maybe decades, in like this haze where you're under a spell, you're searching for these things and you're constantly spiritually hungry, you're constantly hungry for something, and it's like, you get that brain fog, you get that low-level apathy, you get that depression, and you're in this haze. But sometimes, like I said in yesterday's video, it's like the light is allowed to shine through, and you could be anywhere. You could be at the store, and have you ever had that experience where you just see something with absolute clarity? It's like for the first time, it's like you get a glimpse of what the truth is. You see the truth. And it's like for a brief second, everything makes sense. You understand what it all means, baby. These moments are fleeting. But I've had a couple moments like that where it's like I was allowed to, like, the matrix temporarily glitched out, and it's like you see the reality. It doesn't last long. Things make sense in your brain. You're finally putting the pieces of the puzzle together, right? And suddenly you're hit like you got it all figured out. You got it all figured out, baby. So I think that first big win, you get that win. You get that temporary feeling of feeling good, feeling happy, but quickly the Repo Man comes. He repossesses everything, and you're kind of back to square one. So I think like your first big win as a human, as a man, is important, right? The earlier you could get that win and just kind of get it out of your system, it's like the better. It's kind of like getting laid. Like if you've never been laid before, it's like you really think that that's like the solution. When I was 19 years old, I lost my virginity late compared to some. I truly thought that at 19, like getting laid was like the answer. I thought once this happens, once I get this pivotal experience, I thought I was gonna become a man. This was how I was thinking at 19. I thought I was gonna become a man. Everything was gonna make sense. My life would finally have meaning. And then it's like, what happens? It happens, and then you just kind of default. You get loans. You get loaned out a temporary moment of happiness, and quickly the Repo Man comes to repossess. Right? You got the loan. You couldn't pay on the loan, so the Repo Man comes, baby. He came and took your happiness. And how many times do we have to go through this experience of searching, seeking something, getting it, and then realizing that it's not the answer for us to really just kind of be happy here, just to kind of be happy in the now? How many times do we have to go searching for the treasure, get the treasure, only to have the Repo Man come shortly after to repossess all those positive feelings? So I think that first win is an important milestone. And then I think the second milestone, well, this might be a little later, but if that happens to you enough times, you get the thing, right? You get the goodie or whatever it is. You get the girl, you get the money, you get the house, you get the Dodge Charger, baby. You get these things, and it happens enough times to where you kind of your life loses all meaning, right? Because so much meaning is derived from the search, from the acquisition of things. If it happens enough times, this typically happens later in your life. Like once a man hits like 50 years old in his like middle ages, he ends up at a point where life loses all meaning because he kind of got the things, right? He did what he was supposed to do, and there's still that void. There's still that emptiness, and I think that's like a huge moment for you, because it's like, what do you do once your life loses meaning? What happens to you? How do you process that meaninglessness? When you're faced with this kind of void, you're faced with meaninglessness, and not in like a surface level sense. All of us have like, if I give you a word like meaningless, you could kind of, you know what the word means, right? Everybody knows what meaningless is, what depression is, what anger is. We could consciously think about it and say, okay, I know what that word is. But there's also the actual feeling, which some people have experienced, some people won't. If you haven't experienced it yet, you will. It's the actual experience of the meaninglessness, right? It's actually experiencing it and feeling it. It's like everybody could kind of imagine what skydiving is like. The wind, you could imagine the wind rushing in your face, and you could kind of generate a concept of what skydiving is, and you could do the same with anything, right? Like meaninglessness. But once it's there, once you jump out of the plane and you're experiencing it firsthand, like true emotions, like a true feeling of meaninglessness, that's when the rubber meets the road, baby. That's where the rubber meets the road, and you're faced with solving that problem. You're faced with looking at your life. You did all the right things, and you're just filled with that void. You're filled with the void, and it's what you do at that moment, how you process that really makes the rest of your life. This is why suicide rates are the highest amongst middle-aged men. because that's typically the point where you truly feel that meaninglessness beyond you might have thought about it in your younger years. You thought about meaninglessness, and maybe sometimes you thought you were feeling that, but there comes a moment where you truly, every bone in your body understands what it means. It's no longer just a word, but it's an entire experience. And that's a defining moment. What you do with that, sense that things have lost meaning. Typically, this is when people discover God. They go down the Christian route, or they fumble around in these like new age spiritual paths, and it's just kind of like you're still searching, right? You're searching around. You're always searching for this meaning. But as we know, if you drink from the well of the world, baby, you will always be thirsty, right? You will always be thirsty. And I think resolving this sense of meaninglessness, life having no meaning at all, it's coming for all of us, because the Repo Man for everybody comes to repossess this kind of fake meaning that we've established for our lives. We develop this kind of persona, this is my lifestyle. I've got everything in order. But the Repo Man comes eventually, and even though you got it all laid out, you think your life has finally reached a point of meaning, the Repo Man comes and takes that away, right? So as you see the meaning leave on the tow truck, as you see the meaning go to the tow yard, and you're just sitting there, you just watched your Dodge Challenger, your Dodge Charger get hooked up, right? Your sense of meaning and purpose gets hooked up, right? And not in a good way. It's been repossessed. What do you do with it, right? What do you do in that moment as you slowly watch the tow truck fade into the distance? Fallon, go nootropics.com. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And I will see you very soon. Peace.